Just began. I've gone through the introductions. We have a couple of new people. So Brendan, why don't you announce yourself, and also David, if you can announce yourself, and then we'll go around the table and everyone can say who they are and what they do.
Good evening, everyone. I am Brendan Robles. I'm one of the project managers on the Willamette water supply program that's installing a lot of pipeline between Wilsonville up to Hillsborough and into Beaverton. And we have a presentation today, which David's going to lead. And with that, David.
You bet. Thank you, Brendan. I'm David Marciniak, Public and Business Outreach Specialist for the Willamette Water Supply Program. So we're happy to be here tonight to update everyone on our plans coming through the area.
Okay, thank you. So let's start top left, or my top left. Richard, would you like to introduce yourself?
You're on mute, Richard.
All these details, you know?
Yeah.
I miss it. So I'm Richard Turnock. I'm retired. I live in up near Highland Nature Park. So there's lots of birds.
And he's also the vice chair. I'll go next because I'm next on the panel. I'm Mike Alner. I'm the chair of the South Beaverton NAC. I would like to be retired, but I'm not there yet. But thank you very much for joining the South Beaverton NAC. Gary.
Gary Cook, live just due east of the water reservoirs, up on top of Sexton Mountain, and I am retired, definitely.
Debbie.
Debbie Stewart, board member for South Beaverton NAC, and I also serve in an at-large position on the BCCI. And I live around the corner from Richard, due east of the Forest Park.
Okay, David.
David Stewart, member of South Beaverton NAC, and not retired. I work at a little company out in Hillsborough called Intel.
Well, we won't hold that against you.
Thank you. But if I don't take my wife out to dinner, then okay.
Right. Okay. All right. So Miles, everyone I take it knows you.
Glowacki neighborhood program coordinator, and I'm about halfway to retirement.
John.
I'm John. I'm with Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District.
Okay.
Nowhere near retirement.
No, well, never mind. It's not all it's cut out to be, I hear. We also have a caller that hasn't identified themselves. Would you like to introduce yourself? Telephone number 1925-337-1685. Okay, let's move forward. Beaverton Police, Jimmy Ho is not able to make it today, so we did have another person called in, but I'm not sure whether he got the notification in time to join us. Just trying to find his name, sorry. Oh well, for some reason I can't see my email, so I'm not going to waste any more time trying to find him. But hopefully he will join us later, so we'll catch up with the police. I have a video which I'm going to show from Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. So let me just start the share on this one. And I'm not sure, do I have to click on something? I've never done this, Miles.
Click share screen, and then it should show you kind of like all your different.
Okay, let me do this then.
I'm just loving Gary's peanut butter thing here. He's really going to town with that thing. I'll tell you what, making you hungry. No, not really. I just had dinner, but you know, it is,
Okay, can everyone see this?
yes.
Yeah.
Not hearing the audio though.
No sound.
Okay. Is there something else I should be doing?
I think a lot of these things have an option for sharing sound as well as, but I don't know about Zoom specifically.
Oh, share sound, there we are. Okay, let's go back to the beginning.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this update from your fire department. We've been busy administering tens of thousands of vaccination shots to community members across our service area. In April, we hit a milestone of 50,000 vaccinations, and that number continues to grow with an anticipated 65,000 vaccinations administered by the end of May. Our personnel who staff these clinics have enjoyed the opportunity to visit with community members in person and share in the excitement as people get vaccinated. Every shot given gets us one step closer to reaching the other side of this pandemic. With vaccines becoming more readily available at local pharmacies and other convenient locations for the community to access, we are phasing out our role as vaccination provider. Our last clinic will take place in early June. It has truly been an honor to help our communities get vaccinated. And while we won't be out of the woods with this pandemic as quickly as we'd all like, I'm optimistic for what the future holds. In other important news, May is Wildfire Awareness Month. And according to meteorologists, we've experienced the driest April on record. Knowing this, and as we continue to experience longer wildfire seasons, we are gearing up for another busy season. Starting this month, our fire and life safety team will be hosting free Zoom presentations once a month through September to help you learn about ways you can prepare your home and family. They'll go over how to create a defensible space around your home, along with creating an emergency plan and kit. Visit www.tvfr.com for a list of dates and times and to access the registration link. Thank you for listening. Please continue to stay safe and take care of yourselves and each other.
Okay. Okay, it's nice to have them join us. I didn't realize they were so involved with the vaccination thing. So anyway, the next one is John. Would you like to give us your update?
Yeah, want to follow with Debbie first about the porta potties at the parks. So followed up with the sports department and with maintenance. There was a porta potty at that park before, and that's because soccer programmed that site, and they no longer, due to enrollment, they had to cut back on sites. And the standard is if they are programmed with the sports leagues in the area, then they put out porta potties. And that's just the policy that Tualatin Hills has. I pushed back as best I could. But if you have any other questions, I can give you Fannel Creek service number and a guy you can talk to over there.
Is it possible that that's something a NAC could sponsor for the summer in a park? Like to rent a porta potty for 3 months and have NAC funds pay for it?
I don't know, but I could imagine that
Where-
we could.
Where there's not a sports field, but like there's a playground, and so.
Yeah, I wonder if we could. And I can put you in contact with one of our maintenance guys who oversees that park.
Well, it's not. I have a friend who lives in the Wonderland neighborhood, and there's a park there too that has a playground but no porta potty. So.
Yeah, it's going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of our parks
right
now. But I imagine if the company has a porta potty available, we could probably we can. It's at least it's open for conversation.
So,
Okay.
so John, if we were to pursue that, would Tualatin Parks and Rec be responsible for cleaning it, or would we have to get someone also from the NAC to at least wipe it down, spray it down, or whatever it needs to be done? I know the emptying and cleaning, but it's just the sanitization of the handles and all the other bits and pieces.
I think if it's for a community event, I think there's just a sign that goes over that this is not regular cleaned or whatever.
Okay.
The company that comes out and does it on their regular route, and we just label it. How best would you like to? Do you want their number, Debbie, or do you want me to reach out and have them connect with you?
Well, we've ordered porta potties before when we've done our summer event. So we have a company in Hillsborough, and I think a lot of them are up there. But if you have someone that normally provides those, I can always call them, or Debbie, if you want to call them. I don't want to take the lead on it.
Yeah, we probably want to connect with maintenance, so there's just not.
I know. So if you want to, sorry,
John or Mike and Debbie, if you want to get me the contact information for the right person at THPRD, I'd be happy to contact them and set it up.
Okay.
Because we might want to, not this group, but I might want to sponsor one at Wonderland Park too.
So Wonderland Park, and what was the other one?
Meadowway.
Meadowway, that's right. Okay. I'll be in contact with you tomorrow, Miles. I want to make sure that it's the same person for each park.
Okay.
A couple different ones.
Yeah.
Thank,
and then I'll follow up with Debbie.
Thank you very much, John, for following up on that. Anyway, I'll let you get on with your other updates.
We got summer camps and classes starting on Monday next week. Youth and counselors will still be in masks per COVID guidelines. And that's the plan for the summer, unless we get something we're not expecting with guidelines that come out. We're hoping next Tuesday. We are adding swim lessons as we can, and looking for number of positions to be filled in the park district: lifeguards, swim instructors, sports instructors, maintenance, anything. We're looking for quality staff. And then Garden Home Rec Center will come back online, I believe next week, with summer camps, and then some fitness inside. And then we're creating plans for hopefully in the fall to roll out a couple more centers. A lot of it's going to depend on what we can do staffing wise. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I've heard that the Conestoga Aquatic Center will be closed for a while. Do you have any details about it?
I got a lot of details. We are, I believe, just approved by the board. We are going under a aquatics remodel. So only the two pools will be closed this July 31st. And we're hoping November-ish time. And then when we reopen, we hopefully we come back with lap swims and recreational swims. And the plan is to do a lot of lifeguard classes to see if we can get more staff certified in that time.
Okay.
Where are you going to do the lifeguard class?
Well, we have one starting at Somerset next week. We have one in Conestoga on Sundays in July. We're trying to create some more plans and free some staff up, take some duties off them to see if we can get a couple more classes at Somerset in July. And then hopefully we do a couple more when we come back online with Conestoga in the late fall, early winter. But we have Conestoga will be open till July. The 50 meter is open, and then Somerset and Raleigh are open for the summer.
Which is the other one that's being,
What was that, Richard?
there's Conestoga that's going to be closed for renovation, and what's the other one?
Raleigh and Somerset are open, but
I thought you said there were two, but just Conestoga?
Conestoga has 2 pools inside. Sorry, so we have a slide pool. Yeah, so both that, and we're not opening up the splash pad this summer at Conestoga, but it's going to be a pretty extensive renovation in the pool, much needed.
Okay. Any other questions for John? So I just had one, John, and again, I don't mean this to be politically incorrect, but are you requiring your staff to be vaccinated, or is there any position on any of that?
There's no mandate for them to be vaccinated, depending on what program is going on, and if you're inside or outside. Depends if you can go, and if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, depends if you can have a mask on or not. So
Right.
all of our youth programs, you have to have a mask on. But if it's in the 12 or older, and you're vaccinated, you can go maskless.
Okay, no,
Like the
thank you.
weight rooms and stuff like that.
Thank you for the clarification. I know that there's lots of different rules about that at the moment, so I was just checking on that. Thank you.
Most of the staff have been vaccinated, though.
Right,
I would say like probably 90% of us have.
that's good. Any other questions? Then we'll move on. Okay, Miles, I take it you're doing the city update?
Yeah. Let's see. The June news from the city. We want to welcome our new city manager, Jen Haruyama. Beaverton City Council has appointed Jen as city manager. The appointment comes after a robust recruitment process with community and staff engagement. The hiring of the city manager supports the city's transition to a council manager form of government as outlined in Beaverton's new city charter. Jen most recently served as the city manager of Tracy, California. She started her government leadership career as an assistant finance director in the town of Los Gatos, California. Then she transitioned to the city of Tracy as the administrative service director and interim assistant city manager, and then city manager. She's expected to begin in August of 2021, so soon. I think there's more information on our website, beavertonoregon.gov/charter for the charter information, or /city manager for the city manager information. The library is excited to announce that summer reading is underway, and they have programs for kids, teens, and adults to read the summer, earn prizes, and give back to those in need. The kids and teens program, they complete 15 hours of reading, listening to audiobooks or being read to, or doing a family activity. There's no registration this year. You can print off a reading log from the website or pick one up from the library and track your progress. And when the kids sign up, they can go into the library and pick out a brand new book at the start of the year to start reading. It started the summer, so they can start reading it. And then if adults track their hours through August 15th, for every 100 hours read collectively, the new Friends of the Library, City Library, will donate one meal to the Meals on Wheels program, up to 135 total. And then the city's got a bunch of different events happening this summer, some in person, some virtual. Beavertonoregon.gov events, and then the library's got a bunch of their programming going too. So beavertonlibrary.org/events. We have including the night market is coming back in person this year, and I believe it's going to be a ticketed event, So keep your eye out for when the tickets go. They'll be free, but you'll have to sign up to get them. So keep your eye out for when that happens. They can go this year. And it's moving locations. It's going to be in Old Town Beaverton. I can't remember the exact street. I think it's 3rd that they're shutting down by 3rd and Hall, that area, and setting up on the street. That's all my announcements.
Okay, thank you.
Miles, do you have any update on when the fountain work is projected to be done?
Yes, I was in a meeting today. We were talking about it. August 20th.
And
It's going to be a really neat system when it's all done. It looks like a huge mess right now, though, if you've been by it.
Miles, I have a quick question. Although this is a school, do you know if the schools are going to be opening up in person? And Richard, do you know if you're going to be able to be back mentoring all those great science students at Southridge?
I haven't heard.
I don't know anything about the school schedule.
Okay.
David, you had a question?
I sent Miles a question on email, but I don't know if you remember or not. It's about the water fountains we have around the city and drinking fountains. I didn't know whether, I've just noticed they haven't, at least the one that I go by hasn't been turned on again. And no.
Yeah, I did send that to our Public Works group, and I'm glad you reminded me. They haven't gotten back to me, but I'll ask them again tomorrow and
Thanks.
get back to you.
All right, thank you.
They did say they're all supposed to be turned on, so either that one's broken or they just missed it when they went around turning them on. But
It wasn't
I'll
turned
find out.
on Tuesday when I checked it, so thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Miles? And we'll move on to the next one. And that's Gary.
Let's see. Debbie has been sitting on a subcommittee of the BCCI, and they have been working on the, the traffic safety improvement process. And Debbie, I'm going to kind of hand that off to you. You know far more about that than I. The land use subcommittee of the BCCI is just finishing off a series of questions, directions you go when you get a notice from the city that says, we have approved this application, or we're going to go to public hearing for them. Basically, it's a land use tutorial that gets wrapped into the land use handbook that's already up on the NAC page. That is, I expect that's going to go to the NAC probably at the next meeting or the meeting thereafter. Short of that, I don't have a whole lot to go through other than Frosty. I don't think there's been any grant submittals, but if you could update us on that, I would appreciate it. Next meeting.
No, there hasn't been.
Okay. All right. That's pretty much it. These other two projects I talked about are, they've taken a while, and they're finally coming. They're near closure. Let's just say it that way. Questions?
Debbie, did you have an update you wanted to add?
Well, secondhand, I guess. Conette from BCCI went to the June 3rd Traffic Commission and presented the letters from NACs, including ours, and as well as other comments. And just reading from her email update, the commission has committed to dedicating their July 1st meeting to revising the final vote process. And she believes it's their intention to also review the 5 areas of neighborhood comments after a summer hiatus. So the whole counting no return vote as a no vote seems like that might be on its way out. So they're meeting again July 1st, but they were at least open to some changes. And I also listened to a city council meeting that it was brought up as well. And it sounded like the city council was definitely in support of the process being revised. So that's the update. BCCI is meeting again on Monday night. And so, but I think that that's kind of where it's still in process at this point. But it was well received by the Traffic Commission at their June 3rd meeting and moving forward instead of just saying, thanks for playing, but we're happy with the process the way it is. So stay tuned.
That's a good update. Thank you very much. So I see Officer Hagen, sorry, has joined us. Would you like to give us your update?
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me?
We can. And if you can pronounce your name, I'll try not to make a mess of it next time.
It's Officer Haugen.
Haugen, thank you.
Yep. I am the NAC officer that's assigned to the Denny, Whitford, Raleigh Hills area normally, and I'm filling in for Officer Jimmy Ho. So he probably usually has a certain way of doing things. I just go off kind of what I normally do with my NAC. First thing I cover is upcoming events. We have obviously the farmers market going on right now. It's at the city park next to the library. On Saturdays, it's from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Another upcoming event is Beaverton Pride Celebration. It's going to be June 27th, starting at 11 a.m. And it's kind of, they're transitioning from the farmers market to the Pride Parade because it's all happening the same day. That starts at 11 a.m. and that's also Beaverton City Park. As far as police events go, we're not really having any right now. So that's kind of what the latest, greatest things are going on in the city with regards to city events or city sponsored events. Next thing that I'm going to cover is interesting things happening within the police department, within the city. First thing is repaving is going to be starting on Highway 26. It's going to be happening in the evenings, and they're going to be doing it from Sylvan Road all the way to, or Sylvan exit all the way down to the Cornell Road exit. That'll be happening at nights, I believe starting between like around 8:30 and going till about 6 in the morning. As soon as they finish that, the fun really gets going with the Highway 217 project. And that I believe is going to be happening all the time. And per ODOT's website, it's going to only be a short 4 years for that project. So yeah, we all live here in this area. I dread these upcoming 4 years. So as far as things I kind of like to share, as far as things to consider during the summer month is some summer safety tips. Unfortunately, and I've been doing this job at the police department since 2006, and we get them every summer, is the hot dogs in the car. During the summer especially, I encourage people, just leave your dogs at home. Don't take them with you, because we get a lot of calls about people leaving dogs in the cars. Those situations can be deadly for the animals, and also can lead to things happening to the owners and their cars getting damaged if we need to rescue the animals. Also, during the summer months, unfortunately, but because of COVID, it really hasn't increased a whole lot, but it's just the not being a victim of thefts. And that means like not leaving your stuff in your cars, locking your cars at night, not leaving things out in front of your house, making sure that we have good lighting. Good, if you do have it, I have video surveillance out front of my house. I always encourage people to look into stuff like that. Just encourage people, try not to be victims, even though sometimes we can't control that. Lastly, something that's been on the uptake recently, you might have seen some articles about it too, is theft of catalytic converters. And I am on a bunch of email strings within the Pacific Northwest. And this is a occurrence that's happening up in Washington and all across Oregon. For some reason, these groups or people are stealing catalytic converters. For some reason, Toyota Priuses are the #1 victim because I guess they have 2 catalytic converters versus 1. And what's happening to them is they're getting broken down for, I guess, precious metals that are inside of them. It's pretty organized as far as it's not, but the breaking down of the catalytic converters themselves for those precious metals is pretty time intensive and requires a lot of chemicals. So what we believe is happening is they're getting shipped to like central places and they're doing them at unknown locations. So, but that's kind of what's, as far as increase in criminal activities going, it's just this theft of catalytic converters. With that, I don't really have anything else unless you guys have any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Officer Hagan? Yes, Frosty.
Yes, with the tremendous increase in crime we're seeing in the Portland area, are you seeing any bleeding over into Beaverton?
We are seeing the criminal element, unfortunately, coming to this side of town. It's multifaceted as far as like why that is. One, the jails just aren't accepting certain levels of crime. So your property offenders, the people that would typically be housed at a jail and are not being housed. They are given a ticket to show up for court. Whether they do or not, that's up to them. We've had, for example, today I found a stolen vehicle that was occupied by some individuals at a hotel, local hotel in here in Beaverton. And I asked one of the guys that I arrested, I was like, well, why do you guys come to Beaverton? He's like, it's quiet. So, I mean, and I've heard that being said by other people too. Criminals know that it's unfortunately just the way it is, that like in Portland, for example, they're not doing a lot of self-initiated activity, which is a way of, I don't know, lowering the crime rates. And so the criminals know that, they're taking advantage of it, and it's just kind of, it's spreading out, unfortunately.
In other words, you get what you tolerate.
What is self-initiated activity? Sorry, I don't know what you mean by that term.
That would be like if we're not dispatched to a call, like something that somebody calls in, it's be more like being proactive. So for example, today when I found the stolen car, it was just me driving around the hotel and this particular hotel and seeing a car that was like, well, that looks funny. And just going up and investigating it. Like, for example, with this call, it was backed in funny. The window was down. It was a nice higher end car that had been treated really poorly. So it didn't have any license plates on it. So I ran the VIN and it showed as a stolen vehicle. Self-initiated activity could be that. It could be traffic stops. It could be pedestrian stops too. But that's what I mean when self-initiated activity.
So you mean by police officers?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the Portland police officers are not doing as much self-initiated activity as they used to.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Having gone through the police academy at Beaverton, I will tell you, you and your colleagues are incredibly observant. And in the ride along I did with one of your female officers, I was just blown away by how observant she was, how quick she saw things that it just went over my head. And she was very professional too. I mean, you guys, I'm just so impressed. And it's just sad that we're getting what we tolerate, and it's got to stop because it's costing us a whole bunch. It's costing us money.
Yeah.
And lives, eventually.
So I had a couple of questions. The first one is, when they start this 217 project, are they going to increase patrols on the side roads because we get people cutting through and keeping highway speeds on the back road? I'm just saying, is there any plans to do that? Because we'll probably end up with a lot more traffic on the back roads, people trying to get around it.
On the back roads, not that I'm aware of. I know that ODOT, for the purposes of safety during the construction, has allocated a certain amount of money for overtime for the police officers to do traffic-related enforcements along the highways, be it on 26 and 217. With regards to what I encourage you guys to do, because I know that our traffic department is now, I believe it's fully staffed, or might be just down one officer, but we have a traffic hotline, and I encourage people to call that. If you're seeing an increased issue in your neighborhood, definitely give a call. See if we can help mitigate whatever traffic issues might be happening.
Officer Hagan, what is the hotline number? And I'll be happy to put it on our next door.
Ooh, I do not know that off the top of my head.
If you could get that to us, I'll be happy to.
Okay, if you do call our records department, and I do that, I know that number, it's 503 526 2261. Somebody will pick up. You'll get a live body. I hate calling places and you never get a human being.
Yeah.
But if you call that number, somebody will pick up, and you can ask them, "Hey, can you transfer me to the traffic hotline?" And they'll do that.
Well, then they could give me the number, and then I could put. Would it be okay to post that one, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
My second question, have you seen an increase in crazy driving? We came out on Murray here recently, probably 7, 8 o'clock at night, and there was a car coming down the wrong side of the 2 lanes going up over the top of the hill. So it looks like either someone turned out of Walmart and actually came up the wrong side, and they were coming up over the hill, coming down on the upside of the lane. But there seems to be a number of things like that have been going on. I didn't know if you'd experienced or seen that.
I have. It seems as though, because I work during the day, I'm normal when school's in session. I'm a school resource officer. But I still hear the calls that come in, and the amount. It seems like a lot of road rage type incidences. They seem to be on the rise for some reason. Again, I think I would attribute that to people's, like, just the situation that we're all in right now, and we're all trying to get out of. It's causing a lot of stress for people. As far as the number of DUIs goes, I think their DUIs are pretty much on par from where they were the past couple of years. But I think people's patience is down. And so that's, again, I would agree with you that it seems like there's more, lack of a better way of describing it, bad drivers out there right now, because people aren't focusing on what they should be doing, which is, driving.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I never know what to do with that, because the guy, by the time we passed him, he'd already gone down and hopefully switched back over to the right side of the road, because it could have been quite nasty.
I see a lot of people post stuff on the Nextdoor app, calling people out about their bad driving.
Right.
It's another route you can take too, is just because people might also have seen the same thing that you've seen. Down the road, it could help maybe stop that person's driving.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you for all your work that you do for us. It's a hard time these days with all that's been going on. So we thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate you guys being active members of the community. It's great to see. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Miles, it's back to you, and then Brendan Robles and David, if they want to take it away. So they're muted, I think.
I didn't have anything else, Mike. Just
No, it was you'd requested. We've got you down for the Willamette water system supply. That's what's next on the agenda.
Oh, okay. So Brendan and David, are you there?
Sure are.
Okay, you guys are up.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate your time. It's our pleasure to be here. I guess before we start, does everybody, if you've heard of the Willamette Water Supply Program, if there's anyone, see a lot of nods there, good. So a lot of backstory. We'll kind of cover, we'll spend about 15 minutes, show you some slides here. We'll give you a little bit of the backstory. Then we'll really focus in for a few minutes here on that South Beaverton area and show some of the activities that'll be going through there. So with that, I'll share screen here, and I've put together a PowerPoint. I'll project this. Hopefully that's coming through. Feel free to just shout out if it's not. Oh, lost my slide deck. There it is. I'll put it full screen there. Hopefully that's looking all right for everyone.
No, we can't see it just yet.
It's blinking, so that's usually a good.
There we are.
See
We
it.
can see it now.
Wonderful. See if it cooperates here. Willamette Water Supply Program.
And what are your positions? What do you guys do?
You bet. So my position, I am a public and business outreach specialist with the program. So my job is going around to the community as we're building the project and even the years leading up to building the project, and just working with all the different community members and neighborhood groups and businesses and all the different stakeholders out there to educate them and inform them.
So this isn't a city of Beaverton, a government entity, is it?
It is in a part. They are a partner agency.
Partners?
Yep. So I'll get that in a minute. It's
Okay, sorry.
a partnership project. Yeah, so my role is to do the outreach side of things, and then to also work with the business community to engage getting local businesses involved and make sure that we're investing in our local economy as we're doing this work. And then Brendan is our project manager. So Brendan, did you want to say a couple words there?
Yeah, so my function on the program is to manage the actual design and be in support of the construction of the pipeline. As David will show you, there'll be there are several sections of pipelines within the overall system that we've kind of broken up into different chunks. And I am the project manager for what we call the MPE, Main Pipeline East, and COB, City of Beaverton, 16-inch pipeline that runs along Shoals all the way up through Western into Beaverton Hillsdale Highway. David? Who's David?
Can everyone hear me all right? I'm a little glitch.
Can hear you now. David, I think you're still on mute, maybe.
Yep, can't hear him now.
It's a, okay, great.
You're back.
I will not send.
Apologize for the technical difficulties.
Brandon, can you do the presentation?
Yeah, he's got the.
He controls the slides?
Yeah. Okay. So we are the Willamette Water Supply Program, which is, David, can you move to the next slide? I think he's locked. Trying to get the slides back from him. Actually, Mike, if you want to move on the agenda while we fix this thing, that way we're not holding you up.
Okay, we can do that for a short time. So Richard, I put you back on the agenda because I know you were going to be talking about or going and doing some more walk to school projects. If you want to give us a quick update from that before we move forward.
Okay, I completed in the last week 3 walk audits. I worked on the walk audit for the section over by where Debbie and David live, from on the east side of Highland Nature Park down through there, but a lot of problems with that. I suggested to Leah at the Beaverton School District that they change that because anyway, for various reasons. And then I also, my wife and I walked the trail that goes from 130th over to the Southridge High School, and then took the streets. Actually, we went the other way. There's a path on the sidewalk. There's a lot of broken sidewalks, so I was noting all that. And then we walked the trail coming back. Then we're going to do 135th, and we're also going to do Davies. So those will be the next 2. And we turn those into the Beaverton School District. They then collect all those and apply for money. Also, I'm going to be summarizing our hours as volunteer hours and submitting that to the city. And then also submitting it to the city for the, as part of their climate action plan. It's item number 50 on their climate action plan, is to support to walk to schools, safe routes to schools. And then the next step after that would be to do the Conestoga and Southridge High School safe routes to school, and document those for Leah at the Beaverton School District. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know.
So were you getting any other support, or were you doing it just by yourself?
My wife seems very supportive, but other than that, no.
So you answered that well.
Did she
Well,
carry you?
that's something I really wanted to do, but my wife can't walk at the moment. She's still struggling with that. Otherwise, we'd come out and walk too. But Lisa, you were mentioning something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, and I don't know why I never thought of this. I run with the stroller with Emmett like a few times a week. So I could easily do I could run one and kind of, I guess I'd have to kind of stop to take notes in my head or whatever. But no, the reason why it all kind of came to me now is because I've used that path and it's terrible. It is not stroller friendly or bikeable, in my opinion, at all. Like from a safety perspective or a comfort perspective. Like with Emmett, I'm like, get ready, buddy.
Which one?
So this would be like, see, I still am learning all of these, exact roads, but you were talking about like to Southridge, like by 130th. And there's a name for the park, I think, has kind of a name.
It's a park with a creek that runs along the
Yeah.
And
Forest Glen,
is that it?
Yes, I think that is it.
Okay, I'm
They've
staring
tried
at a
to go in
map, so I'm
and-
trying to figure out, I'm not totally unfamiliar with this part of the neighborhood.
They've
so-
gone in and tried to shave off the high spots on the asphalt, but it's still pretty rough. And what I wrote down was that trail does not seem to be a safe route for children unless they're accompanied by an adult. And because it kind of drops off towards the creek, and the creek's a ditch basically. And so it's really not a safe place for children to walk or bike.
Yeah, I mean, my big concern would be biking, or if, you know, a parent had a younger kid in a stroller and was trying to walk with the older kid, you know, I just like anything with wheels seems to me not feasible. But is that THPRD then?
Well, yeah,
know?
then the school district has to partner with the Washington County, with THPRD, with the city of Beaverton, with you know, they have to. There's all this partnership goes on because the sidewalks are under control of the city. Has to work with the landowners. You have to work with THPRD on the
Trails.
park trails, and then you have to work with Washington County if there's some kind of traffic or street deal. So and then the school district trying to get money, they has to come through the Washington County. So it's pretty complicated. And it would take it'll take a
Right. But the prioritization, like it would be prioritized in a sense by all of those groups, or the idea is that it could be prioritized by all of those groups because it's a safe route to school.
Yes. Or Beaverton School District could take it off their list.
Oh, I see, and no longer recommend it. Yeah. Okay.
And that's what I recommended to them for the section Davies to 135th, then down to where Carr turns into Davies, and then that goes down the Bridle Trail down to Heighton. But there's no stop sign on 135th right there at the intersection with Davies, and there's no the sidewalks are not contiguous on that section of Davies. You know, there's just I recommended they change the safe route to.
That was one of our concerns about this housing development adjacent to Meadowway Park, is that there's not contiguous sidewalks on Davies Road from 135th to Sorrento. And so pedestrian safety and people accessing the park from the south neighborhood there. Apparently that was not, you know, and until somebody gets hurt getting either walking to school or walking to the park and sues the city because there's not sidewalks and stop signs and all of that, I guess it's not a high priority.
So Lisa, I'm curious, and also Richard, having had two daughters that went to Heighton, and then when the boundaries got changed, they were at Fir Grove and then Beaverton before Southridge got built. I'm just worried about how secure from a child theft situation or an attack on women are those trails. Are they in trees and wooded areas where, you know, if you're walking by yourself, like Lisa, you and your child, how safe do you feel from not just from a bumpiness, but how physically safe do you feel?
Well, the line of sight isn't really there, you know, you could say, for, you know, anyone to see you unless they're on the trail too. But a lot of the trail is right along people's backyards, right? So their fence is like right there and their house is right there. You can see their house. And then they go, you know, you're not on the trail for all that long before you hit a street, and then you cross that street and you continue, kind of thing. So, you know, and of course, I'm only going in daylight, which I anticipate would be most of the time with students, although I guess not when it gets really dark out really early.
Not in the wintertime in school, yeah.
Right. That's a good point. So, but I'm only going in daylight, so I feel, you know, perfectly safe on it normally, but I don't know that they're lit at all. Do you know, Richard? Are there lights?
Probably not,
No, there's no lighting in there.
unless it's
No.
the backyard
But,
of the houses.
Yeah, I think Lisa's correct. The trail is broken up by streets. But they're cul-de-sacs, and so it'd be pretty rare that anybody would be on that cul-de-sac or anywhere, you know. And there's sidewalks, there's crosswalks, I mean, marked where you can follow the trail to the next section. But it's the trail's pretty wide, and there is a canopy overhead, but I think the park district comes through there and maintains it often enough.
Okay, I thank you, Richard, for that update. It's really great, and the work you're doing. Thank you for you and your wife for going through and sorting it, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more people out there to help you. I think we're ready, Brendan, either Brendan or David, if you're able to continue.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Miles, for getting that up there. We'll dive right into it. Apologies for the technical glitches there. Zoom did not like me projecting, so we'll have Miles project. So if you can advance that to the next slide, please, Miles, we'll kick it off there. So as I started saying there, so this Willamette water supply is a water partnership. So what happened is that the cities of Beaverton and Hillsborough, and also Tualatin Valley Water District, decades ago, through their water resource planning, were looking ahead and projecting this area's thriving, growing, and to meet the water needs to help citizens and businesses. What do they have to do as far as long-range planning? So each of these agencies had a similar realization that sometime in the future they would have to turn to the Willamette River and the water resources they have in the Willamette River and bring a system up into their distribution areas to meet that need, to help the communities. So they came together and formed a partnership, which is called the Willamette Water Supply 6 System, that manages this. It's kind of a co-op concept, and bringing all that water into the areas. And the goal is to get that distributed and ready for each of these entities to have in the water system by 2026. So there's more to it than just meeting that future need. So here on this slide deck, really seismic resiliency is a huge driver for us. It's this new water system is being built, drinking water system, to meet seismic resiliency standards for the state, to have a supply system up and running within 48 hours following earthquake event. So that it can be serving the community in that critical time of need and helping with the recovery process. But on top of that, these communities each have various resources. So having that extra resource to meet the need of the population is important as part of the overall strategy to bring water in and serve the population. So having that backup source serves some redundancy as well. And then back to that emergency nature, during those time of crises, having extra storage and extra supply is just exceptionally critical. So this system will help satisfy those emergency goals too, to make sure that these communities continue to thrive heading into the future following an earthquake event or other events as well. We'll look at our next slide here and take a look. This kind of shows the overall project. So it's more than 30 miles of
large diameter pipeline. So that's about 66 inches plus, quite a bit of 48-inch pipeline as well. A new water purification facility that is located in Sherwood. And then we take the water from, there's an existing intake on the Willamette River that Sherwood and Wilsonville are currently using. So these partners are partnered on that intake. So we actually start the pipeline from that existing intake to make its way up north. And then a water supply storage tank that is up on Cooper Mountain along Grabhorn Road as that heads up the mountain. Next slide, please. Overall set schedule. So as I was saying, this has been in development for quite a few years. So, back in 2013 to 2016 was kind of that early stages of putting plans together and then starting that permitting process, the associated real estate process, a lot of design and some construction. But even before this timeline, going back a couple decades, a lot of these agencies were all talking about use of the Willamette River in the future, and they were identifying that as a water resource to turn to. And then our goal to be in service there by July of 2026. Next slide, please. So we do like to track a lot of our statistics just to demonstrate our benefit to the local economy. So since we started the heavy side of the construction and a lot of design, we've been for about 3 years now tracking metrics on it. So about 93% of what we've spent so far, which equates to about $231 million, has gone to local companies. So those are all companies within 50 miles of one of our work sites. So as the program matures, we track this pretty heavily and get the names of the companies out there, because we have a lot of pride in the benefits we're creating by this local project benefiting those local companies. So this pie chart here shows how that all fits together. So next slide, please. So we'll talk a bit about the Metzger pipeline. I'll hand it over to Brendan here. We have some engineering themed slides. So we'll talk in detail about this Metzger pipeline east portion of our project. So this is a very large pipeline that starts along Roy Rogers Road on Shoals Ferry, and then takes that pipeline heading eastward. Shoals Ferry has some work on Cascade and Hall Boulevard, and we'll show a map in a minute, and also heading on up to Allen and then Western Avenue. So that is what we call the Metzger Pipeline East project. So what it is, it's combining several different construction projects that were planned for the area. And we brought those projects together and bundled them. And by doing this, we help minimize some of the impacts on the community, some of the impacts on traffic, some of the impacts on the environment. And it's more cost effective as well. So the Willamette Water Supply System, that partner agency, we always had to have a connection towards the east. So there was that need for a 48-inch water line heading somewhere to the east. The Tualatin Valley Water District, independent of that, also had plans for a pipeline going up Shoals Ferry and Hall to help connect one of their pressure zones that's called the Metzger area, which most of you are pretty familiar with. So they had a need to create a pipeline up and to help that pressure zone have appropriate service. Alongside of that, the city of Beaverton has a 16-inch water line. Some of it's already in, and they needed to find a way to finish that pipeline so that they could create their system looping in to the service area along that side of Beaverton. So what happened was a couple years ago, we got together with Beaverton and just thought through how can we combine these projects. And we came up with this Metzger Pipeline East, which effectively is these 3 construction projects in one, and then coordinated. And we heard a little mention of the 217 project. So we're coordinated with that ODOT project to make sure that we're fitting within their site footprint and avoiding their work so that we don't create more problems as we're coming through the area. Next slide, please. And here's a look at that Beaverton 16-inch water line that is installed as part of this work. So that is mostly from the Nimbus area, heading on up Shoals Ferry and Western. So they're creating a partnership with us, really help drive some cost savings and also helps reduce those community impacts in addition, because they would have needed to come in at a future date to install that. But partnering together, we're able to just do that as one project. Next slide, please. So here's an overview map. I'll let Brendan jump in here, but here's some of the general metrics for that Metzger Pipeline East. So leading from Roy Rogers, there's 3 different phases, and it's about 6.8 miles of 48-inch pipeline, half a mile of the 24-inch pipeline, and then about 3.2 miles of the 16-inch pipeline. And the work also involves some tunneling under those major crossing areas. Brendan?
Yeah, like David mentioned, this really is a combination of multiple projects. The Willamette Water Supply Program pipeline that needed to connect to the east, TVWD's Metzger pipeline that needed to connect to Metzger as they got off of the City of Portland's water. And also City of Beaverton, one thing, you have 16-inch line as well. So by combining this, we share in the costs, which means lower costs. We reduce the construction impact. We're no longer doing 3 separate projects in series, but all in parallel, and hopefully lessen the headache a little bit. As like David mentioned, MPE 1.2, 1.1, that is the portion that has the Beaverton 16-inch line. And then the MPE 1.3 closer to your neighborhood is the 48-inch only program and TVWD line. Next slide. As I'm not sure if you've been up onto Western, but that MPE 1.1, COB 1.1, that project has been bid, contract's been awarded, and they are starting to do work up there. That's on Western. The first part of the work will be, it's actually a road diet where they will be adding sidewalk, bypass, along Western Avenue. So it's primarily a road work. So that's another partnership. So there's actually 3 partnerships there. The City of Beaverton's road transportation department, the Public Works Department, and then the TVWD. That work will be starting this month and is scheduled to go through January of 2023. MPE 1.2, COB 1.2, that goes from Nimbus all the way up to Allen and Western. That is also starting. We've bid the project, we've awarded the contract, and we expect to go to start construction in August of this year, and that will go through 2023. Most of the work coming up at the end of this year will be around Highway 217. The intent is to get in and out of there before ODOT comes in and starts their work, so we're not stepping on each other's toes. And then comes MPE 1.3. We have a scheduled bid date, the 4th quarter of this year, and hoping to start construction the 2nd quarter of next year, running all the way through the 4th quarter of 2024. Next, any questions on this? And feel free, if you do have anything, please ask away.
Yeah, I have one. It's probably pretty remedial, but with these pipelines, how do we get it? How does the water get to our house? Are there chutes off those pipelines that go to a neighborhood and then more chutes? And
The program pipeline is actually a transmission main, so there will not be any offshoot, so to speak. So you have a transmission system and then you have a distribution system. So when we talk about the 48-inch and the 66-inch pipes, those are the transmission mains.
That'd be a lot of pressure to put into a house, right?
Correct, correct. And then there's a distribution system. And one of the things we are building as part of 1.2 is a pressure facility at the corner of Olson and Hall that will knock that pressure down before it goes into the Metzger distribution system. The city of Beaverton 16-inch line is also a transmission line, but they do have some connections into distribution systems and providing some service connections as well. They are seismically, I believe, designed to be seismically resilient, the Beaverton's work, but the program's transmission main is designed such that during an earthquake, all valves shut and that water is stored. The pipe is designed to survive the earthquake. We've got 30 million gallons of storage in the reservoirs and about 20 million gallons within the pipe itself. That way, if the distribution systems fail, we don't drain those lines. So that's I may be getting into the weeds here, but that's one of the distinctions between the transmission and the distribution system.
No, it's fascinating because this is the lifeblood of people, is water.
Yeah, funny, I was just talking to David earlier. There was a slide I really liked from the New Zealand earthquake of 2011. They went over 100 days without water. They had to pretty much, every day go to a water station to collect water. They did not have any piped water whatsoever. So you can imagine 100 days without clean drinking water, water to bathe, water to wash. So that's one of the most, in my mind, important things about this Willamette water supply pipeline. Does that answer your question?
Well, yes, I don't know if you have time to do that, but it'd be interesting to hear the distribution then too, because I can understand the transmission versus distribution, but it'd be interesting to, if not today, some other time to talk about the transmission too.
Absolutely. On this slide, we're showing what's going to be the typical traffic control setup. That's on everyone's mind with ODOT happening. And yes, it's going to be 4 years of congestion, slow traffic. For the most part, our pipeline is, we try to keep it in the middle of the road. However, there are so many utilities along in Schultz Ferry that on occasion would have to slide left or north or south. But where we can, our intent is to keep a work zone within the middle of the road, maintain 4 lanes of traffic, and where possible, work at night. But for the most part, I believe 4.1.3 is a lot of day work. Next slide, please. So this is a profile of the scenario, and no, it's not 4 lanes of traffic going in the same direction. We just didn't have a picture of the back end of a truck or car. So that's a typical work zone where we're able to have the pipe in the middle of the road, and we will keep the 4 lanes open. Next slide. And this is what happens when we don't get to keep a pipe in the middle of the road. And again, there will be 2 lanes each way. And especially along, unfortunately, along Shoals Ferry north of Hall, we don't have that 75-foot right away, so it gets really skinny there. But we intend to keep not necessarily all lanes, but traffic flow throughout the construction project. Any questions, comments?
Another comment, with all the construction going on for homes by Roy Rogers and Shoals, Shoals Ferry is becoming a major logjam. I think you're going to see bleeding over into other avenues as well.
Yes, very definitely. As you can see from our earlier map showing that pipeline along Shoals, it goes all the way to Beaverton Hillsdale. The rest of the pipeline work, on the other project I'm managing along Roy Rogers, that's going to be another construction headache or traffic headache. Charlton Sherwood Road down in Sherwood is going to be tore up for the next 3-4 years as they widen. So there's a lot of work going on right now.
So I have a question about pipe that's already been laid along Shoals Ferry going west out to Tile Flat Road.
Mm-hmm.
Was that part of your water project, or was that because of the construction out the new housing and everything? That looked like a really big pipe.
Yeah, that is part of the Willamette Water Supply Program. We pretty much split at Roy Rogers and Shoals Ferry. The Metzger pipeline heads east along Shoals Ferry, and then the rest of the line goes west. That's a 66-inch pipe. Goes up Tile Flat, Grabhorn, up to the reservoirs. Once we get up to the hill, then it gravity drains all the way down to 26, up along Cornelius Pass Road. Next. David?
Great. Yeah, so we'll wrap up with a couple informational slides here. So, obviously with our project coming up, a lot of construction, a lot of impacts. Some of the tools we use, so all of the detours and road impacts, we enter into ODOT has a trip check system. So if you go to ODOT's website, you'll see they have a mapping tool that shows all the road projects. But what's also nice about that is that actually feeds into Google Maps and Waze and some of these other navigation smartphone systems out there. So by us utilizing that trip check system, we're able to give people some real-time traffic information on roadway impacts. So we utilize that quite heavily. And as well as, we like to call it kind of individualized detour education. So if you're somebody that lives along the pipeline and is going to be impacted by the road closure or detour of any type, we like to go around and make sure that we do the mailers, knock on some doors, put the tweets out there, any avenue we can pursue to tailor and make sure people know what we're up to as we're doing that. So next slide.
And vice versa, David, if I may say, we also would like to know what you're up to. That way, from the design side of things, we can accommodate as best we can, say, for example, detours, events, or what have you. We want to hear we rather hear now than wait until we get to construction and then find out, oops. So definitely we'll be in front of you again as we get closer towards bidding this project, and definitely would like to hear your input.
Yeah,
Call David.
Yeah, as we built this project out, we've spent a lot of time just collecting information. It helps us design things more smoothly, a lot more in a smart manner. And then that makes the construction go more smoothly as we get into different neighborhoods. So you can
I would suggest that you also utilize Nextdoor, because it seems like that's where a whole
people, yeah.
boatload of people get their information about what's going on.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. I know the water district has a Nextdoor account, so they push information out on that quite a bit. We don't have a Willamette water account for Nextdoor, but yeah, for sure, it's a good outlet to utilize for information.
Just so you know, each week the city of Beaverton sends out an update, and then it's sent to the BCCI folks committee, and I get that, and then I copy and paste it onto Nextdoor for everybody in the Beaverton all the NACs. So if there is a weekly or bi-weekly update that you want to have, you could probably get that to Miles and get it on the city's website, and Miles can send that out on the weekly basis or how often you choose to update it. And I can make sure it gets on Nextdoor for all the NACs.
Yeah, we would greatly appreciate that for sure.
I mean, it takes me, I have to make sure that's lined up and everything once I copy and paste it, because sometimes the pictures don't always come over, but most people will get that aren't on some of the city committees.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. As we get into the scenarios where we're, shifting traffic or closing different lanes off, that would be very useful.
From my perspective, I am not going to bitch about a water bill anymore. I mean, this stuff is, thanks for the education. Although we might want to bitch about it, but it's just amazing how intricate this is and how much needed it is. I mean, you go into rural communities and, they don't have this. So this is fascinating.
Thank you.
Well, it's also not the city of Hillsborough fighting with the city of Beaverton,
Right.
fighting with the, for the limited amount of water that's available. And so I appreciate the area coordination of the water supply.
This is a good government collaboration. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just as a time check, we are very close to the end of the meeting now. So David and Brendan, do you have any last minute things you want to say?
I don't.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Visit our website, ourreliablewater.org, and then /MPE will get you straight to the Metzger Pipeline East page. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll make sure we keep this NAC informed as we move our plans forward.
Okay, I really appreciate all the work you're doing here. And as Frosty has already said, we take water for granted, but if we don't plan for it, getting it there is not gonna be very helpful if we don't just looking at it, 2024 before we even finish. That's a long-term project on our timescales these days.
Yeah, I got deployed for the first Gulf War, and we basically sent a city the size of Seattle over to the Gulf, and the logistics of getting food and especially water, because the requirements for folks there in the desert for water is just astounding. And, too bad you guys weren't there to build the pipelines.
All right, but again, thank you, and you're welcome back anytime. If you just contact Miles, we're more than happy to give you some time to continue to share it.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's just wrap this meeting up. We have 2 minutes. I was going to give you an update on the shredding plan. And I mentioned that I haven't had much time to do anything about it, but I will try and run the subcommittee between now and September so we can have something ready for when we get back together in September. Just touching on a roundtable things, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get back to face-to-face meetings in September. I think it's going to be very much a case of whatever the whatever the state decides to do. So we'll continue these Zoom meetings until that time. But we do have two candidates for the runoff election. So Ashley Hartmeier-Prigg and Jerome Sibayan will be presenting in the meeting in September. So we'll be able to ask them questions. We're going to give them 20 minutes each. So they'll be able to present their case for 15 minutes and hopefully giving them 5 minutes each to be able to us to ask questions of them. Anything else for the round table?
Mike, just an update on the 2 candidates. Jerome got back to me. He will be there.
Okay.
I have not heard back from Ashley. So if I don't hear back next week, I'll send her another email.
Okay, thank you very much for following up on that and moving that forward.
I think there was discussion at BCCI about doing a candidates forum again for those 2 candidates. I think I recall that. It would come up again Monday night at the BCCI meeting. So
okay.
Another opportunity to hear from the candidates.
And Frosty, for our side, if we can publicize this, we know we've got 2 months to be able to make sure it gets out there. But if people want to know about it, maybe that will help us get more attendance in the September NAC, because we're going to give them an opportunity to come and listen to these things.
Yeah,
Okay.
if there's an agenda that we could get before the week of, I can publish it multiple times. So
Yeah, no, I've already put the agenda together and given it to Miles. I haven't published it yet because I want to make sure that both candidates are gonna turn up.
Yeah.
So as soon as we get some feedback from Miles, I'll send it over to you. And I apologize for getting the agendas out to you the same week. It's been a difficult last couple of weeks. So
well, at least
anyway,
we got them though.
Yeah, we have got them. Yes, it should be at least a month ahead of time so that we can get better publicity out. As you've all seen, Heidi wasn't able to attend, so she gave me the wonderful number of $7,649.22. That hasn't changed from last month. So we have the same amount of money, which is good. It's not leaking anywhere, so we'll be able to use that hopefully in September. Are there any other questions before we adjourn? I'm 1 minute over.
Mike, I just wanted to make sure I understand. Are we going to try to actually have a shredding event over the summer, or are we going to try to like make plans and then have it in the fall?
We're going to try and make plans to have it in the fall. I don't think it's realistic to try and have something between now and then. But the idea was if we can get enough planning together, we should be able to do something in September or September, October time.
And I'm guessing as Ted Forgeron and I are volunteers for the Beaverton Police, and I'm guessing they're going to restart the shredding events, if not fall, maybe by winter of 2022.
I don't think they're restarting the shredding events. The police department, not at all. Yeah.
So they're done forever?
That's what I've heard.
Okay. Well, I'll check into it. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It was a major food food drive opportunity. That's too bad.
Yeah, and that's something we want to do with ours, is to get people to bring cans of food so we can support a local food bank.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other questions from anyone? If not, I wish you all a very happy summer. It sounds like it's going to start off this week in 90 degrees, so we're definitely going to need that water to keep cool. And I'm sad that they're not going to open all the splash parks so that we can always cool down. But they'll probably get it ready for the end of August, September, when it starts raining like Billy O anyway, so we won't need it. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for attending. Have a wonderful summer, and we will talk again in September.
And be safe.